Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Pretty nice day out, warming up just a little bit. Oh, quite windy still. We can't get away from that. It's been this way pretty much all year long so far. Back here in these trees, it's not too bad, but still quite a bit of wind going on. And some possible rain, maybe even some thunderstorms this weekend here for us. So if you live in the area, kind of be ready for that. It's craziness, right? I mean, stuff is just going nuts. Gold is going nuts. $114, $115 today. It went up in comparison to the dollar. Okay. We're talking, I mean, it's getting into the $3,400 an ounce range. That's pretty serious. Now, when silver starts going in the high double digits and even into the triple digits, then you better get ready, because that's when things are starting to really get serious. But they're already serious. Stock market's taking a hit. The U.S. dollar value is just constantly just taking a nosedive. The Fed's chairman spoke today, Jerome Powell. He says to expect inflation, that this is going to cause at least short-term inflation, and that while they think that the economy is still strong, that it's going to go through some major upsets. And that's what they say, which is always very much downplayed. Remember back during COVID? Remember how they talked to the same people, talking about how, well, it's not going to be that bad. It's just going to be transitory inflation. Remember all that? For months, it was transitory inflation. And here we are still living with, 15 to 30% or more inflation, over the last 4 or 5 years. And the economy in a lot worse shape than it was in at that time. So, yeah, they're trying to, calm it down a little bit by what they say. But we know that based on what's going on, yeah, it's going to be bad. So we need to be preparing for that constantly. I think, and I've spoken to some people, I actually talked to a precious metal broker today, and he says, based on what he's seeing and based on what, other people in his business is talking about, that gold probably could see $4,500 to $5,000 an ounce by the end of the year. That's also pretty similar to what some of the big, like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and stuff like that are saying pretty much the same thing. He said that just tens of billions of dollars are being purchased right now in gold. And it's not, yes, it's sometimes the small fry, you and I, but it's the top level people, big banks, big billionaires. They're buying tens of billions of dollars of gold. COMEX is saying that they're 8 to 10 weeks behind a lot of times because they can't keep up with the orders. They're having a difficult time with finding the gold to turn around and sell it. And we're not talking about paper gold, meaning, buying gold shares. We're talking in hand, physical ownership of gold is what they're buying. They're going and buying, bars and coins and stuff to go stick in their own private vault somewhere. That's a pretty big deal. And I've talked about this quite a bit over the last couple of years, but especially here lately. A lot of nations are doing that, repatriating their gold. These are all really, really important signs of what's going on. These people that are at this level, they're not, because here's the thing. Gold is a way to, and silver too, is a way to secure your wealth. It's not an investment necessarily, at least in the sense where you put money away in it and then, 20, 30 years later, you've got enough because of inflation not inflation, but interest rates and inflation, interest rates, or just, everything growing, that now you've got a good nest egg, like say the stock market or something. Gold is where you secure your wealth. And so these people, they want to make money. I've said this before recently. They're not going to take their money out of a stock market or out of any other type of place where they know they could make money if they could, and put it into something that they're not really going to make much money off of it. This is to secure their wealth, folks. And the people that are doing this are in positions of power that they would have a pretty good knowledge of what's coming. So I'm telling you. I think probably what we're seeing here, and the guy that I spoke with today said the same thing, is we're seeing a purposeful collapse of the current system. Now, this is what the president has been talking about. The golden era, golden age, the new world order, all these different things. They want to collapse the current system. Debt, income taxes, currency that's worthless, all that kind of stuff. And also probably take the control out of the Federal Reserve. And that is saying that from trying to give them credit, maybe where it's due, maybe it's too much credit. I don't know. The problem is, I'm not opposed to, if that is exactly what they're doing or something close to that, I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Breaking down the fiat money system, replacing it with some kind of gold-backed, precious metal-backed mixture of crypto-backed. I'm not necessarily against that per se. What I'm doing is telling you better get ready, because it's going to be a rough ride, one way or the other. You cannot take a system that's 50 plus years old, that's global, the Bretton Woods basically system that was created. You can't take that and destroy it and replace it with something new and expect everything to be okay. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. You add along with that all the wars that's going on and the potential for new wars, and in the trade war. And that's heating up too. Today, the United States has stated that they are working with or talking with other nations that may buy from us and may buy from China, both, one or the other, and trying to convince them or pressure them, some might say bullying them, with tariffs to stop doing business with China and to cut off trade routes. A lot of the Silk Road and all this other stuff that China does, where they take ships through other nations' waters or across their land to distribute their goods. The United States, the White House, is trying to use tariffs, telling nations, say, hey, if you continue to allow, them to come through your harbors or, on your rail lines or land in your airports, then we will increase tariffs on you. This is how wars are started, folks. This is way more than just slapping some tariffs on them. This is going around to other nations and trying to use certain tactics that some might find, not necessarily nice, and which the world isn't, and no one else is nice to us, but it's not nice to pressure them, say, to turn their back on China, to break deals with China. That's the kind of stuff that I could see China actually moving on. And China is, in a lot of ways. They've cut a lot of things out. They're trying to make it difficult, and I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just telling it like it is. But you take all of that and the fact that the current system is being broken down pretty rapidly. I mean, you have to admit that in the last 3 months, it has probably taken a much bigger hit than it has in the last decade or two combined. So it's very rapid. It's not overnight. It's not like a movie that lasts an hour and a half, but it is very rapid. And even if it's what you want, even if it's what you voted for, even if you like it, that's fine. I'm not actually complaining about it necessarily. Maybe the ways that it's being done. But what I've been trying to tell people for months now, good or bad, you better get ready for this. Because if you're going to break down the system, replace the US dollar with something else, debt, interest rates, Fed, stock markets, trade, all of this stuff. And then, of course, add in technology. White House issued some type of statement today on their website, or posted something on their website talking about the levels of technology. And they actually said that we as in the government, U.S. government, have the capability of altering space and time. What in the world is that supposed to mean? But the level of technology that's being employed in this, and in this article, this thing, it talked about AI, it talked about all these supercomputers, quantum computing, that kind of stuff. You add that all together, and it really is a very new world order that's being developed. Something like out of Brave New World or, 1984. And even if it's done properly and it's done for the good, which I don't necessarily believe that it is, but let's just play that out for a moment. Getting there is still going to be very, very painful, folks. And I don't think that the average person, and I don't even think the average prepper, the average homesteader, fully understands how painful that's going to be. Not just economically, not just with buying your stuff, but I'm talking about violence and people losing their minds, people losing all their wealth. You know, over the last decade or so, a lot of young people have become quite wealthy because of stock trading and crypto and all this kind of stuff, internet ventures and things. They could be losing everything. And you could have almost a whole generation of people that's lost so much. And it may even be worse than the generation of the Great Depression. And the generation I'm speaking of is the one that's the most on, you know, psychotropic medications and that are being treated for all types of psychiatric problems. And then you take away their wealth and you break down the system and possibly draft them into war and increase violence. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. So you need to get ready for that. It's not really about whether you approve or disapprove of what's going on. Because in the end, it doesn't matter what you and I approve or disapprove of or not. It's going to happen. Whatever it is, whether it's good or bad, it's going to happen. What we need to be focused on is preparing ourselves for that. Stocking up on stuff, producing food, you know, building a nest egg of things, getting out of debt, becoming self-sufficient, building a community around you, getting your soul, your spiritual faith with the Most High where it needs to be, building and strengthening your relationships within your family and your close circle around you. Those kinds of things need to be done. Because like it, love it, good, bad, the stuff that's happening, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt in a really bad way. And you need to get ready for it. Folks, get your houses in order and prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.